This is Rugby Roundup. Coming up, we discuss the merits of the British and Irish Cup for our local teams, we speak to Moseley's Ian Smith and preview the weekend's fixtures. Hello and welcome to Rugby Roundup. I'm Paul Bradley, in for Christina Savas, and I'm joined at Fort Dunlop Studios by Brian Dick. Hi Brian.
Hi Paul.
Well, we're going to be discussing the merits of the British and Irish Cup. First of all, just tell me where it really fits in the hierarchy of kind of rugby in this area.
Well, it's very much the secondary competition, whether you're Moseley and Birmingham Solihull at the bottom end of the championship, fighting for league survival, or Worcester trying to get back into the Premiership. The British and Irish Cup is not anyone's first priority. Maybe clubs that like Bedford or London Welsh that possibly aren't going to go up might look at it as a chance at winning something. But in this area, it really is a priority 101 in the top list, top 100 priorities. That said, when we're locked in sort of wintry conditions we are at the moment, it's little more than an obstruction. Moseley are probably going to have to play Bedford next Tuesday or the Tuesday after. Bees are playing Cornish Pirates on Wednesday. They really could do with some free Saturdays. Now, whose fault is it that there aren't any free Saturdays? The RFU and the clubs will argue the toss about that. The RFU would say that the clubs requested, when this structure was conceived, they requested 15 or 16 meaningful home matches each season, just to get the punters through the door and balance the books. The clubs, would say that the RFU imposed this structure on them. So the clubs need to be careful what they wish for, and the RFU need to be careful what they impose. But it's really, for me, it's not a competition I particularly enjoy. It was pretty hard work last season, bearing in mind Bees and Moseley both lost all 5 of their games. And
what about Worcester though? Because that's a bit of a surprise. Some of their fans may have been looking at that competition and thinking that's some silverware there to win, but maybe Worcester aren't approaching it that seriously this year.
Well, they say they are. The club spin is that this is we're taking this competition very seriously, and without denigrating the guys that are doing the job. The academy coaches will be overseeing this weekend's opening fixture against Newport. There's every chance they'll do an excellent job. However, to my mind, it's as you say, it's a competition Worcester could win, and okay, people would say it's only the British and Irish Cup, but if you ask a Moseley supporter about what they felt about the national trophy when they won it a couple of years ago, they weren't saying it's only the national trophy. They had a day out at Twickenham and wrote a chapter in the club's history. Worcester have got that opportunity. They're one of the big guns in this competition, and is it necessarily the right way to start off by not possibly jeopardising your first opening fixture in the competition by playing some inexperienced players? I don't think it is, particularly because those Worcester fans are craving some success, and heaven knows they've put up some pretty turgid stuff over the last few years, and I would love for them to be able to ride the crest of the wave and pick up 1, maybe 2 pieces of silverware this year.
Well, we'll see how that game goes, and I'm sure the message boards will be busy with a lot of chatter about that. But now let's turn back to Moseley. You spoke to Ian Smith recently. How's he looking basically forwards to the next couple of games?
Well, they've got they travel to London Welsh on Saturday, and then they go to Ulster next Friday night. 2 extremely demanding fixtures. Moseley traditionally have used this, as Ian will tell us, have used this competition to rest some players and give some rugby to some of the guys that haven't had much. However, with the weather, they've had a break and they've had an enforced rest, and I think they can go to London Welsh, as Ian will say, and maybe take it a little bit more seriously, or pick a few more regular starters. That said, it all depends on what London Welsh did the last time the sides played. London Welsh came to Bilsey Common and stuck 68 on Moseley, so if London Welsh adopt a similar strategy and play most of their ones, then it could be a difficult afternoon for Moseley.
Okay, well let's hear what Ian Smith said, and these are his thoughts.
The championship is our bread and butter, really, so that's where our real interest lies. Saying that, I think now we've had a break in the championship programme with the weather, then it's an opportunity to already have rested the players, so we can probably approach it in a different way. I think originally, at the start of the season, we would view these games as a way of giving fringe players plenty of rugby and bringing the health of the squad up a little bit. But as I say, with the fact that we lost the game to Bedford over that winter period, then it's probably an idea just to keep going, really. I think the fact that you're playing against these quality sides, in my view, means that you should do better against them, because you know much more about them. You know how they're going to play, you know totally what to expect, and it should in a way improve your games. But some way, if you look at the way that England internationally have done well against the Southern Hemisphere side, they didn't do that by not playing them. They did that by playing them more regularly. So, you know, there's a message there, really. It's a great opportunity to go out and try your skills and test yourselves against what is a very good side.
Well, that was Ian Smith. Now turning to Birmingham Solihull Bees. Brian, they've had a tricky time recently, but what's the atmosphere in the camp like at the moment?
Well, they went down to Plymouth last week. They were the one side of our teams that did actually play. They lost 27-0 at Plymouth. It was a pretty typical. I wasn't there, but it was from what Eugene Martin tells me, it was a pretty typical affair. They started poorly in the first half. A couple of penalties given away. They were 6-0 down and a mistake, and a breakaway try, and then a try just before half time. And you know they're 20 points down, and they go on to lose 27-0. So you know they're shooting themselves in the foot. In the second half, they came back and it was a little bit better, but they didn't get over the line. So, you know, frustration is the only word that we can apply to what's going on at Damson Park at the moment. They are a good side. Their A game, I still believe, when they're on their day, is the best out of those bottom four teams. However, they're just not replicating it often enough. And you know, they play Doncaster this weekend. Doncaster, I think, will probably play a weakened side, although they probably wouldn't call it that. And for Bees, this represents an opportunity to get some momentum at home and get stuck into a Doncaster team that beat them at Castle Park earlier this season. Doncaster have got to play Worcester next Wednesday, so you know I would be surprised if they're going for a white knuckler against Bees on this Sunday. I think it's a decent opportunity for Bees.
And on a positive note for Bees, a couple of their players were in the England team for the recent Sevens tournament. You were at that yourself. How did they get on?
Well, Simon Hunt was one of the stars of the show. He scored some very important tries. One in the final that against Samoa that dragged England back into it, and eventually they went on and won. How much comfort that is to the boys back home is a moot point, I would say. Do Bees really need their leading scorer playing well for England Sevens when they're going away to Plymouth? Do they really need their director of rugby away with England when things they're having a tough time at home? Yeah. I'll leave them to answer that, but I think people can draw their own conclusions.
Okay, Brian. Well, thanks for that this week, and thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with more Rugby Roundup.